Hey friends, I'm Michelle Marki, and as you know, the way to become wealthy is to make our money work for us. And one of the ways we typically go about doing this is to invest our money in reasonable, higher yielding assets like stocks that usually give us rates of return of between 7 to 10% per year. And so it's surprising when any other kind of asset can give us rates of return like this, like a Series I savings bond from the US government that I recently talked about in a video about how it could be our last chance to buy 9.62% Series I bonds this October. So today I'm going to talk about a tutorial and step-by-step giving you instructions on how to buy the Series I bond so that you can lock in this rate for 6 months guaranteed. And then it's going to change in the 6 months after that, but that's what we're going to have to live with. And typically a holding period is for at least a year. So if this sounds good to you and you like earning some decent interest on your money, please be sure to like and subscribe to my video and YouTube channel, and let's get into the tutorial. The first step, if you're looking to buy Series I bonds or other US government bonds, is to visit the new and improved treasurydirect.gov website. And just like you don't want to wait until the day of Halloween to buy your Halloween candy, you're going to want to do the same with bonds, because the deadline is Friday, October 28, because they need a business day in order to issue the bonds. So if you buy them on October 28, you'll get issued your bonds by Monday, October 31. And it says as much. If you scroll down on the website, you'll see a menu of bonds you could buy that include the Series I bonds with the current rate of 9.62% that has been in place since May 2022 and will end by the end of October. And you can see that it says complete the purchase of this bond in Treasury Direct by October 28, 2022 to ensure issuance by October 31, 2022. And also, if you scroll down further, there's special announcements where it says this: to buy a Series I savings bond and ensure you get your confirmation email for the purchase by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on October 28. And you will get 9.62% interest for the first 6 months. And also, you're going to want to pay attention to the heavy call and mail volumes that the Treasury is dealing with, where it could take between 8 to 13 weeks to deal with your mail form requests. And this involves changing bank account information or getting authorized on something that could take the Treasury a while to update in their system. And also make sure you're prepared in case you have to call them, that you could be waiting for hours like I had to in the middle of summer. I was on the phone on a Friday for 2 hours and 45 minutes just to change my password to my Treasury Direct account. So don't be like me, and make sure all of your stuff is clear and correct before you were to try to get something done, because you'll be suffering long wait times otherwise. And if you haven't opened a Treasury Direct account before, you would press the link open a new account on the main page, and then you would see that it's a pretty straightforward process that will take about 10 minutes. And I've seen people do this on their phone, so it could be done that way or on a computer. And you would see that there's 3 steps that they walk you through, including where you select the type of account that you're going to open in step 1. And then step 2 is you provide your personal information, including your tax ID number, which is your social security number, or your business tax identification number known as EIN, and your email address and your bank account and routing numbers. And then in step 3, you would choose a password and a reminder for it, and a personalized image and caption, and security questions. And then you would select your account type in the following screen. And as you can see, either you as an individual could open an account, or if you have a business or an estate or trust, then you could sign up with one of those kinds of entities. And then when you're filling in your information in step 2, you can see that it's pretty straightforward, like your name, date of birth, your social security number, driver's license or state ID number, and your address and phone numbers. And then you would certify that you are giving all the correct information and it's legit. And then I don't have a screen for the following one about setting your name and password and such. But once you do that, you would then press log in. and then you would go to entering your account number, and it could be with or without hyphens, it doesn't matter. And then when you press submit, you would get a one-time passcode to register your computer, and you would check your email for this one-time passcode or OTP and submit. And then you would see that you would be entering your password, and it would give you your personalized image and caption that you selected when you first signed up. And if you don't see that picture, then maybe you entered the wrong account number. So make sure you see your own personalized image and caption. And then you would enter on this very old school looking virtual keyboard. And I added a little comment here that's kind of surprising that they have something that's not even synced with your actual keyboard, and you have to use a mouse to press these buttons, but c'est la vie. And then after you've completed those steps, ta-da, you're then in your account summary that's welcoming you to being able to buy securities, and you see a list of any bonds you may have purchased in the past or that were gifted to you in the following list. And otherwise, you'll see a bunch of zeros if you don't own any bonds yet, and that's totally normal. And you can also see a little reminder about the current Series EE and Series I bond rates that are available until October 28. And then you would navigate away from the My Account tab over to the Buy Direct tab. And then you would see a menu of bonds you could buy, including marketable securities, savings bonds, and 0% certificate of indebtedness. But the ones we're going to focus on today are the savings bonds. And since we're buying them online, we can't buy the paper bonds, which can only be bought when we file a tax return and get a refund. And then we're able to buy up to $5,000 worth of Series I paper bonds. But since we're doing this online, that's not an option. So you're going to want to just click the Series I and accrual type security with a combination interest rate of a fixed and an inflation rate. And this kind online, we can buy up to $10,000 worth every year. And continuing on to the next screen, in the registration information, you would see a drop-down menu that contains your individual name or an entity that you've registered to buy the bonds for. And in purchase information, you would see the product type, Series I savings bond, and you would enter a purchase amount. And the minimum is $25 or any amount above that to the penny and not exceeding $10,000. So if you want, you could buy an I bond for $36.73. And then you would select from a source of funds, most likely your bank. And then in purchase frequency, you could either schedule a single purchase or repeat purchases, or by selecting your own dates. And even if you select a single purchase for today's date, October 13, the order will be filled on the next business day, as I'll show you in a couple of screens. And so we press submit like we're buying today, and then we see this savings bonds purchase limitation reminder. And if you take a moment to read all this, you just make sure that you're willing to live with all these conditions and that you promise you won't exceed the limit of $10,000. Otherwise, it could take you 12 weeks to get a refund. And then we press yes to proceed. And then we see in purchase review of my hypothetical example, your name with the last 4 digits of your social there, and then your product type, and then the amount that we're purchasing, in this case, let's say $1,000 worth, and then your source of funds is your bank, and it has your debit account number. And then the purchase date, like I mentioned, is the one that's the next business day. So we selected October 13, but the date on which will be issued the Series I bond will be the next day, October 14. And then there's a few more conditions that you have to certify. And then after you press submit, we then see a confirmation where it says, thank you for your purchase. And it recaps everything that you saw on the previous screen, with the addition of a confirmation number that's after the purchase date. And you see a few digits there, and you would also get an email of this. So be on the lookout for that email. And so congrats, you're now the proud owner of a Series I bond, and you can enjoy it sitting in your Treasury Direct account for the next 30 years. If you take a look at your current holdings, you can see a recap of when it was issued and for how long the term will be of the bond. And if you want to redeem it after it's been a year or more and you are able to redeem the bond, you would either press that button redeem, or there's also the form 5512 where you can specify the bonds you want to redeem and or also change your bank account information on this form. And if you're like me and had to update your bank account information, you had to go to a bank branch and have them stamp their medallion on it and not a notary, because that won't work. So make sure you don't get them confused and make sure the right kind of stamp is on this form before you send it in. And then after you've mailed it in, it took about 7 weeks for them to update the bank account for me. And then finally, I was able to have a new and working bank account with which to be able to buy my Series I bond. And if you're still watching, I'd like to say thank you very much, as that completes my step-by-step tutorial in how to buy a Series I bond. And also I want to give you a few more tips and things just to keep in mind, like how there's proposed legislation to increase the annual purchase limit from $10,000 to $30,000, which would be pretty nice, especially if you want to pad your emergency fund with that kind of limit. But for now, it's only proposed, so it's not yet law. So I wouldn't rely on the expectation of having up to $30,000 worth to be able to buy, because it's not yet in effect. So maybe next year in 2023, if we're so lucky. And then also, bonds could make a pretty decent birthday or graduation gift to someone you know. So keep that in mind, because I've gotten bonds before as gifts. So I know that it can be kind of useful for some people to also do that if you want to give someone a gift that keeps on giving. And if you enjoyed this video or learned something, please like and subscribe. And I wish you happy bonding with your new bonds if you bought some. Till next time.